I was just unwell. And after I quit college, early 20s, late 20s, I attempted to work part-time. I attempted to keep an apartment. I attempted to just be normal, all the while going to appointments every week. And when that didn't work, I attempted to get better faster by doubling down and doing it more. So, I had more appointments with nutritionists at hospitals and more appointments with psychiatrists and more meds that they were trying on me to desperately try to make me better. In my 30s, I was married, and a whole set of other suffering is going on because there's unconditional love there between my husband and I. But when we took our vows, he knew it was going to be for worse, better or worse. And it was worse. And in sickness and in health, and it was so much sickness. And then late 30s, early 40s, after 4 decades of this, of mental illness, my physical being, my body couldn't take it anymore. And I had just extreme amount of medical complications from so many years of starvation. So then I was embarking on surgeries and hospitalizations that involved very invasive treatments to try to save my life. It was horrible. It really was.
Yeah, I'm so sorry. So what happened? What changed? How did you get out of that?
Well, the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result. And I had already been fired by my last psychiatrist 30 years into this. I wanted to titrate off of the 4 meds that I was on, and he refused to help me. I was functioning worse on them than I was off them. I was on 2 for the schizophrenia, 1 for anxiety and OCD, and 1 for clinical depression. And it was just a devastating time. And because I wouldn't sign a contract with him to gain 3 pounds a week, because I was down to 70 pounds again, he said, I can't help you, don't come back. And I was at a crossroads. Do I start all over again? Do I find another care team? Do I find another psychiatrist that we're going to do this all over again? I knew by this time this was never going to work. This was when I would try to do better, my diet of a cup of spinach and a cup of lettuce and maybe a cup of celery, and that's all I would eat in a day. When I would try to do better, I was taught all my life from my care team, doing better meant eating a sweet potato with it. Doing better meant eating oatmeal with that. So that's how I would approach being better. By the time I got to be 45 years old, I had spent 35 years not eating any animal products. Not an egg, not a bite of chicken, nothing. And by Sovereigns, I found these 2 books at the library by the author Julia Ross called The Mood Cure and The Diet Cure. And for the first time in my life, I read about what the brain needs in order to function optimally. That the 100 plus neurotransmitters in our brain require complete amino acids in order for your brain to metabolically function, for your mitochondria to function. I'd never heard this before. I knew about nutrition, but I didn't know that the different foods that you pick, some are superior to others. I was always taught that all I needed to do was eat beans and rice and wheat bread and peanut butter if I felt like I needed protein. Other than that, eat your grains, eat your pasta, eat your pies and your cakes and your cookies to prove to us that you're not anorexic anymore. Once your weight gets up high enough, you'll be well. You won't be this way anymore. And I had done this decade after decade. Gain a little weight, relapse, gain a little weight, relapse. No matter what I weighed, regaining the weight on carbs only never made an impact in how I felt mentally, never made an impact in the drive to starve and in the anorexia. So these two books were groundbreaking to me. And I began to wonder if there was more people out there talking about it. And so I searched on YouTube for TED Talks, and I searched online for supportive evidence. And that's when I found Dr. Georgia Ede and Dr. Chris Palmer. And what they wrote and what they talked about was the light at the end of my tunnel. They were my lifeline to understanding what I needed to do in order to possibly be better, even 10% better, even 15% better. And never in my wildest dreams did I ever think that I would ever be completely 100% well. I just wanted to be able to get through the day, get through the hour. So finding them was groundbreaking to me. It was, of course, before both of their books came out. This was, 7 years ago. But what's in their books is what I found. And that research, that evidence gave me the courage to try one more time, because I was not going to survive another year like this. I was 70 pounds. I had gone through some very, very extensive surgeries in order to save my life. And I was faced with more that was going to happen in the future. I also found Dr. Sean Baker and Dr. Ken Berry, and I found you. And I spent months trying to figure out, okay, this is what I want to do and this is what I need to do, but how? How do I do this when that's all I'm eating is a cup of spinach and that's all I can allow myself to eat? The thought of eating anything else drives a panic attack and would just put me in a pool of tears on the floor. I knew that I needed to do this in an organized way in order for me to make this successful. And since I hadn't eaten any animal foods for 35 years, this literally was going to be saving my life one bite at a time, literally. That's all I could do. So this is how I started.